Alright, so you guys ready?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, it's going live now.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Alright, everyone, welcome. We're going to be started in just a few moments. We just are checking audio, if you guys can tell us if everything sounds alright. Tyler, Kevin?
Hello, hello. Actually, that sounded retarded.
No, it's okay. That's
Yeah,
normal.
dude.
That sounds normal for you.
That's normal
Yeah,
for you. I hate to break it to
always
you, but that's
make
what you
fun of
sound
me.
like.
Alright. So if you guys in the stream can just tell us if
People on the
everyone
IRC
sounds
are saying
good.
it's good.
People sound good. Great. All right. So now we're just waiting for Dylan to get things started. And I suppose while we do, let's get some gameplay footage going. 10-year-old gameplay footage.
Alright, ugly people.
Wow, you're back. Finally. Jeez. All right. Fantastic.
We're live, by the way. Don't
Was
say
that
anything.
really Dylan, or was that Tyler's impression of Dylan?
That was hilarious.
I had to take my dog out.
Wow. Good timing. Impeccable timing. All right. Well, I guess we're ready. So I'm gonna cue up our music and should get silence on the set. It's a serious business. All right, here we go. Live DiabloCast. You're ready for announcer voice, right?
Let's do it. Broadcast. Oh, yeah, there you go. I figured through
All right, hello everyone. Welcome to a special live edition of DiabloCast, in which we're going to be talking about last week's media event. Also going to be answering some community questions. And with me, as always, we've got Kevin Six and Carlino.
What's up, guys?
And then the return, finally, of Cyberdragon. Cyberdragon, how you doing, buddy?
Finally, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm doing good.
Also known as Tyler in the real world. And then welcoming back again, we do have got Dylan Tempest Foot. Dylan, how you doing this week?
Very well, thank you.
Awesome. So this is going to be pretty exciting. This is, yes, a live podcast, and you know what that means? It gives us the liberty to screw up multiple times, because I'm certain it'll happen. But yeah, we're just going to be going over some of the major announcements from last week. I guess kind of bullet pointing. You know, we had the removal of the skill system, the announcement of the auction house, which is causing a huge uproar, and I'm sure all of you have some pretty big opinions on that. And then the upcoming beta, which may very well be getting announced today. Now, the Activision Blizzard conference call is starting in about 25 minutes, and once that happens, we'll just be taking user questions, talking about various things. And once they cut to the Diablo discussion, which is likely to be at the end of the conference call, we'll go ahead and cut to that, because that is when we're expecting some news about the Diablo 3 beta. All right, so let's just go ahead and get this special live edition of DiabloCast started, and let's go ahead and start off by talking about the auction house. So this is probably the biggest thing that came about, and at least the most controversial, I would have to say. I mean, lots of people are kind of all flustered about this. So yes, the auction house, real money trading. There's two versions. There's the gold one, but many people are arguing that won't be used because of the basically availability of real money auction house. So let's just talk about this for a minute. Right off the bat, let's do some first impressions. And actually, I'd like to ask you first, Tyler, because this isn't something that I've talked about with you at all. Both Kevin and Dylan, we've kind of conversed about this. But what are your thoughts initially about this whole system and kind of what it implies?
I was pretty excited about the decision. I knew that there was going to be a huge uproar the second I heard it. I was like, oh, great, there's going to be a lot of people QQing about this. But overall, I'm good with it. I think the fact that they went with both auction houses is a great idea, that they didn't limit you to just real money. But I'm excited for it. I think the coolest thing is actually that there's actually a chance to get into the real money auction house game without actually putting any money into it. And I feel that's a route a lot of people are going to take and try to build up some e-credit without ever actually putting money into the system, so that they can still be a part of that auction house but not have to worry about the actual real money aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really big thing, because that part of what they mentioned during last week's event was that there will be a certain amount of free auctions per week without any listing fees or transaction fees or anything. And that's precisely what it allows you to do. It allows you to get in the game with spending zero money. And you know, people will say, I don't want to spend money in the game. Well, you don't have to. If you find an item that maybe you don't want or none of your friends want, and it's really a high-quality, rare item, it just doesn't fit your character or anything that your friends have, sell it online, and you know, you'll get a balance right off the bat, and you can kind of work with that. Now, let's go to you, Kevin. With that, you know, the fact that you don't have to spend money, that's not even the biggest concern. I think a lot of people are obviously really concerned about the idea of you know, being able to buy power in a game. So what are your thoughts on being able to buy power in Diablo 3?
I mean, personally, I don't really have a problem with it. I guess I can see where people are coming from, but my response is always, well, somebody else purchasing items doesn't affect your gameplay whatsoever. So, there's a chance that you might not even play against somebody that has used the real money auction house. And if that's usually not good enough, what I do is I tell them to go play hardcore, because hardcore cannot use real money trading. So, obviously you're going to buy Diablo 3, so your choice is either to play hardcore or to just completely ignore it if you really have that big of a problem.
Sure. I think something else to note, too, is, obviously the biggest thing when it comes to this type of system is, it is concerning the fact that people could buy power. But I think one of the biggest things that I've kind of come to realize in all of the discussions and all the interviews I've seen with Jay Wilson and everyone on the Diablo 3 development team is that that's an issue in competitive games. So when we think about, and they reference World of Warcraft, so I feel safe to do the same. In a game like World of Warcraft, there's races to be the first guild to kill the last boss in a certain instance,
right.
And there's races to be the top of the arena ladder. There is no, at least inherently in Diablo 3, there is no such structure. It is entirely cooperative, and yes, there's a PvP arena, but it's not going to be competitive whatsoever, at least as far as Blizzard is concerned. There's no ranking. There's an internal ranking, so you'll be pitted against people that match your skill level, but there's no number system. You're not going to be like, I'm a 2,500, arena Diablo 3 player. And I think that's a big part of the reason why they're at least justifying, whether or not I agree with this is another conversation, but they're justifying it as saying this is all cooperative. There's not enough competition in here. How do you feel about that, Dylan? What do you think about the idea that this is not a competitive game, so buying power thusly, well, it's okay?
I can't lie. I'm actually still kind of raging. We've discussed it before, and I QQ'd then about it. And I just don't like the idea of being able to flat out buy anything in the game and being able to just log on, spend $100, deck out your character. And it's not even just the items. You can literally sell your characters online. So without any type of work and investment, you can literally buy a character, deck it out, and then be able to go play where, somebody else invested, countless hours of time and effort in procuring those items. And I'm not saying I'm never going to sell an item. If it's there, I'll probably use it to make a little cash. But the very concept of it, I don't believe in. Though I do think it's probably one of the biggest reasons why we won't have to pay for Diablo 3. Because Blizzard will make their money this way.
Yeah, but, like I was saying, what if, the other player purchasing items, that's not going to affect you at all. Why does it matter?
Alright, I can see that aspect of it. But human beings are, by nature, competitive. Now, even if you're not directly fighting each other or competing in a specific task, you always want the best. You always want to be better than the person next to you. At least I have always been a competitive person, and that's the whole reason why in Diablo 2, people would use map hacks to be able to inspect other people, because they wanted to be like, oh, I have better gear. They wanted to compare gear and either be better or see what they have so that they can either, get those items or better those items. And, now you can just go online, click in, and with a credit card, there you go. I think it just takes the work, and because of that, it takes all the fun out of acquiring the item.
Yeah, but, essentially, they could potentially have the items. The difference is that, and you will never know whether or not they actually found it or if they bought it.
Exactly. So, you'll that's my whole point there. Is you just can't tell whether, are they some stupid noob that logged on to the credit card, or did they actually, go through and, earn their items?
Now, from what I've seen, Blizzard's retort to that is that happened in D2. If you're playing D2 right now, it's happening. If you play with someone, you don't know if they bought items or not. Now, obviously it was pretty rampant in Diablo 2, but I'm going to say it'll be around much more frequently and much more visibly in Diablo 3, just because it's ingrained in the game itself. Go ahead.
Okay, during Diablo 2, item stores didn't really pop up until the last, 5-6 years maybe. When D2 was still in its prime, I don't really think that there were many item stores. There weren't really many spam bots, because those things really hadn't come around. It really started happening the last couple of years when Blizzard actually started resetting the ladder a little bit less infrequently, because at that point it really meant something to be at the top of the ladder. Not that it didn't, when in the beginning, but my point is that Blizzard was resetting the ladder often, was every 6 months, every year or so. So, I mean, it was cool. Yeah, hey, I hit the top of the ladder, and then boom, okay, well, I'll just get the next one. Whereas, 2006, 7 started rolling around, and it's like, oh, cool, we got a 2-year ladder going right now. This is a little silly. Go ahead, Dylan.
There's also one other aspect that I think that it completely devalues the gold system. Now, I know that there's some gold dumps in far as like your stash and artisans, but if, as many believe that this totally destroys the whole gold auction house because, why are you getting gold when you can sell your items for money? They're basically making a game, and because gold's going to be a joke, or at least I think it may be, then literally the currency of the game is going to be real money. Like, that would be the hard currency of Diablo 3.
I've heard. Are you going to say something, Kevin?
Yeah, I dotted. You didn't dot.
Well, let me just throw in real quick. I've heard a lot of people discussing how the economy balance is looking to work, and I've read some pretty interesting posts stating that because you can buy gold, there's going to be kind of a big check and balance system between the two,
right,
in which the exchange rate makes it worthwhile to play the gold auction house, acquire items from it, and then sell them on the real money auction house, and you can kind of roll around with that. And people are actually predicting that because of this, the gold auction house may actually be larger. So,
yeah, that's actually what I was going to say for the most part. I mean, basically, gold is still going to be the economy. I still feel that way. The only thing is, real money is going to determine how valuable gold actually is. But, like Dennis was just saying, I do still feel like gold is going to play a big part in the game. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they plan their gold sinks correctly, which from the sound of it does, I mean, there's a lot of stuff endgame that you have money, to spend towards. One thing that I read about or listened to in the interview that I was really excited about as a viable gold sink was the enhancement system from the Mystic. And how it's working is that basically you pay to enhance an item, but if you want to pay again at an inflated price, it'll re-roll, but never lower than the first roll that you got. And so essentially, I guarantee you people endgame, min-maxers and everything are going to constantly keep paying that gold sink to keep maximizing, every gear that they have and trying to max out that one with the enhancement system.
There was something a lot like that in Torchlight. I don't know if any of you guys played that, but kind of been able to just throw enchantments on your gear and make them that much better. So I really like that. I think that's really neat. So.
Yeah, I mean, essentially that's exactly what's going on, and they're calling it enhancements as opposed to enchantments. But I mean, that's what it does. We saw it in the Worldwide Invitational 2008 trailer when they first announced the game. Basically, the barbarian had like some frost enchantments or lightning enchantments on his weapons and whatnot.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm most certain, unless you guys have anything to add, that we could talk about the auction house system for the entire podcast. And I do believe that we're still planning a podcast for later in the week as well. So we could reserve a lot of this kind of in-depth conversation for that point. But we did just want to touch on it, and I want to get everyone's kind of thoughts and opinions as to basically how they felt about the real-world auction house system. Either way, it's a huge change. It has major implications. Whether you're for or against it, it's going to be a pretty big thing. So.
One last thing I wanted to add on there is I'm sick of hearing everyone QQ about how Blizzard's just going to make tons of money off of this. Like, this is their way to make it a cash cow, and that Blizzard's going to take $100 from each transaction and steal basically all the players' money and reap all the benefits off their work. When really, I feel the nominal fee that's going to be is really just going to be basically to pay for the servers and everything that they need to run this system. I mean, if they make a little bit of profit off of it, there's a chance, but I don't think it's... There's some people who are making it sound like, they'll make, subscription fees basically off of this auction house, where really I just don't see that working out that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question in my mind that, they'll be obviously pulling in some income for it, and I'm fairly certain that that's at least part of what informed their decision to go ahead and go through with this system. But it's not everything, you know what I mean? And they're not, like you said, they're probably not going to be making subscription fees, at least not to that level. But yeah, they will be making some money from this. And here's a good point that I read in some of the forums. Why is that a bad thing? Someone likened it to this. If you've been working really hard, and obviously I know this is a huge corporation, and they're making a lot of money off of World of Warcraft, and likely the next MMO that comes out, they'll be making a lot of money. And again, this isn't to say that they're suffering, but as an individual, if you have been working really hard and producing very solid work for your boss, you would ask for a raise at some point, at least if you're a normal human being. Like, it's logical for that to come about. And, you know, as time progresses, I don't think it's that far-fetched. Obviously, general game prices increase, but from what I understand in the gaming industry overall, they're spending crap tons more money than they ever used to in production value for these games. I mean, they're investing so much money, just astronomical amounts. So for them to be getting more in return, I don't think that that's a bad thing. Again, as an individual, if I was working really hard and producing a lot of great content, I would ask for a raise at some point. Is that something that you guys more or less? I mean, do you guys understand that, at least in the sense that
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, and not only that, but obviously they're going to take some of this money and put it back into the game. It's not like they're just reaping all the benefits.
Oh, well, and that's a big thing. And I mean, that's a huge thing, in fact, because this will stop them from not supporting it anymore. Because eventually, if you're not making any money from a game, you're not going to dump, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every month in supporting it. So that will be a big part of it. They'll be able to support it longer because they're pulling some more money off of it.
I honestly, I'm sorry, I don't have a problem with Blizzard making money. I really don't have. I'm one of the biggest Blizzard enthusiasts you'll ever meet. I've played every game they've ever had, and I've always really respected the fact that they, Diablo II is still played to this day, and Blizzard still supports it. Yeah. And, they obviously aren't making any money off of it anymore, but they still support it, and I really appreciate that. What I don't like is a precedent that every game, from here on, if this is what gaming companies do, where they turn, the currencies into real-time money, that's going to be every single game, henceforth, because that's how they make money.
Yeah, I mean, that's how the industry has been going in general, though. I mean, that's, all these, we've talked about in prior podcasts that all these companies, and I know that it's so funny, if you read anything Diablo now, especially so early before the beta is even released, everyone's such a hardcore fan that a lot of times they don't even know about any other game. But if you look across the gaming industry, this is happening everywhere, and that's not maybe to justify it, but it's just to say this is kind of the way the industry is going. Microtransactions are happening more and more often. Xbox, PlayStation, lots of games have microtransactions, downloadable content. This is pretty prevalent. Something else that's happening a lot now, too, is for online games having to constantly be online, and that's something that they're deciding to incorporate in Diablo 3, and a lot of people were PO'd about that. They're like, what the F? Like, you have to be online all the time? It's like, whoa. Diablo 3 isn't the first game to do this. There are a lot of games.
World of Warcraft came out 7 years ago, and it was online only.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's an MMO, but besides MMOs, there are a lot of games now that are online only, and people have to realize one of the biggest reasons, and I think why it's really justifiable here, forcing you to be online only in Diablo 3 drastically cuts back on bots and duping, because they can constantly be scanning you, if you will. They can constantly be checking for these things. If they allow people to play Diablo 3 offline, given the fact that there's a real money auction house, think about what an issue duping would be. Because if you could play the game offline when they weren't scanning you, when they weren't figuring out what you're doing, you could dupe items, you could dupe gold, then you log online and you sell all this crap for real money on auction house. That's a problem, and they can't have that. And I haven't heard them say this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's a big part of the reason why they're like, hey, you have to be online or else this would happen. So.
No, that's exactly why. Rob Pardo said that when he gave us the initial presentation. Basically, he said was
I wasn't paying attention clearly. So.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, basically, I mean, what he said was, there's going to be that argument. Hey, I'm a laptop kind of guy. I'm in my car. I'm on an airplane. I need a game to play. And he goes, well, I'm the same exact way. I do that all the time. But what happens is if we allow you to play your characters offline, then we have no way of tracking what you had and what you just found or anything. So, I mean, if people wanted to hack their characters, they certainly could when they eventually found out a way.
Dylan?
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I actually don't have an issue with, have to be online play. But I remember, in Diablo 2, for example, you could play offline, but you couldn't move those items to your online account.
Well, right. The thing was...
They don't want that in Diablo, though. They don't want
Diablo
people...
2 had two different kinds of online multiplayer. There was Open Battle.net, which is where you could play your single-player characters over online, which nobody ever bothered, or the people that did was because you could hack items and hack your characters, and you could do whatever the hell you wanted. And there was Closed Battle.net on the Realms, which was where Blizzard had ladders, and that was, essentially how we all played. But I mean, what they didn't want, like Dennis was just saying, was to allow people to be able to hack their characters. Now, I guess I don't see a reason why they didn't just do 2 different sets of online, but I mean that's probably or one of the big reasons behind it.
Yeah, and I mean I understand that, you know, in Diablo 2 there was a separation between the two, but they don't want that. They're focused in the co-op experience, and they I remember seeing an interview, they justified it by saying that, you know, we don't want someone who's playing single player to find this really awesome item and then not be able to use it with their friends online. That was, I don't remember who said that. I don't know if any of you saw that interview, but that's specifically what they mentioned. So given the fact that co-op is such a big part of their design philosophy now, I think that's a big part of the reason why they didn't want that separation between, hey, this is an online only and this is an offline only character. So yeah, there you go. All right, anything else on the auction house, or anything else that we've been talking about on that topic, or should we move on to the next?
Moving on.
Okay. All right.
I'm done with this.
Some people are complaining because I guess they can't view the stream in certain countries.
Yeah, that happened last time.
I wanted to know if we could use Justin TV or something also.
Well, anyone who's having trouble with I think the YouTube stream does have problems in certain areas, but this is going to be uploaded, so it will be available for view later in the day if you happen to miss the live stream. But unfortunately, that's kind of something that's out of my hand, and you know, YouTube is where we're featuring the stream. So, all right, so just a little update before we move on to the next topic. I want to let everybody know that very, very shortly, the Activision Blizzard conference call will be starting. It looks like to be starting in about 5 minutes. Now, we're not going to be listening into the entirety of the call simply because most of it is all financial stuff. We talked about this during our last podcast, during the last conference call. It's more or less pretty boring stuff. They talk about their finances, and it's not just Blizzard games. It's their finances of all Activision and Blizzard games in the past. So not definitely anything we'd be too interested to. So we're going to keep fielding questions. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and then we'll finally cut in once they bring up the Diablo 3 and they have the beta announcement. So I guess the next big thing that we can talk about is the removal of skill points. That's all there is to really say about it. There are no more skill points. Justification behind it, we had the recording of the interview with Jay Wilson, in which he mentioned that a big part of the reason was that just because the big part of their reason behind removing skill points was due to the fact of how people played Diablo 3. You know, you start off with these first two or three skills available to you, and then the second you unlocked another skill, you would dump all the points that you had invested in those first skills and then move up. And then you would just keep progressively doing it until you get to higher tiers. And they said that they just didn't really like how this felt. And they felt that, you know, in removing the skill points, they made it makes it much more fluid. Now, a few big arguments against this is, well, what the F, customization out the window. That's a big problem that people have with it. Another thing that they're saying is that it's just becoming way too casual. You know, there's a lot of complaints about Diablo 3 progressively becoming easier and easier. You know, removing the trait points, removing just traits in general, removing the ability to use your attribute points, and now removing skill points, and all of these things. People are saying they're making the game too easy. The explanation behind this is it's more of an evolution based on how gameplay is basically going in their internal testing. I mean, most of these major changes have happened fairly recently. They started internal testing, was about like a month and a half ago, I believe.
Or just when they did the last conference call.
Yeah. So it hasn't been going for very long, and they've made these big changes as a result of what they've tested. And I know people are on both sides of the fence. I guess we can start with you, Dylan. How do you feel about the removal of skill points?
Oh, you already know what I'm going to say to this. We'd already talked, and this is my big soapbox issue, in which I am furious just because exactly what you just said is I've always loved the customization, and I've always loved the ability to tinker with your character and play with this and play with that. And I do understand that, you know, generally people tended to spec the same way because it made it most advantageous. So, you know, I do understand their point of, okay, well, if everybody's specking the exact same way, you know, because it's the most strongest, if we just remove all the points, you know, everything, you know, goes out even. And but my biggest reason why I think this happened is people get mad when they break their characters. They're like, oh, well, I did this wrong and I did this wrong, and they just made it, you know, easy and simple, and you don't have to worry about it. And I think they're catering to, you know, the lowest common denominator in people that want to play the game, but they don't want to put any effort into learning the characters and learning the game mechanics. And that's what I've always really liked.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, it wasn't even. It's not even learning the game. Basically, it's Diablo 2. You hoard points until you hit level 80. Then you go online and you look up a build, and then you put all your points in. That's not fun. I mean, yeah. For me, like, I mean, I liked finding silly builds. Like, I made a Healadin, you know, like a medic paladin kind of a thing. It wasn't really. I couldn't kill anything, but it was cool to play in parties and stuff. I mean, it was just fun to do. And, I mean, otherwise, other than finding those silly little builds, everything else you had to go online to find. Otherwise, if you just did it as you were going, you would never find a viable build. Your character would be crappy. And who wants to do that? So, I mean, I like that you're not getting punished for using skill points. And what Dennis was saying before, Jay Wilson basically found out that in their internal testing, they would put them in, you know, a tier 1 skill, dump all their points into a tier 1 skill. Once they leveled up and unlocked the next skill, they would just respec and dump all their points into the tier 2 skill until they leveled up and did it again for tier 3. And there was no customization. There was no variety. Everybody just did the same thing, and that's not what they're shooting for, you know?
See, I don't know. I disagree. I remember how much fun I had when I was younger. You know, I had like a notebooks full of, you know, prospective Diablo builds and what I wanted to do and, you know, the gear that I wanted to have. And yeah, I mean, I did a lot of crappy things too. I remember getting to level, you know, 70 before spending a skill point. And that's something that, you know, obviously you want to avoid because it's no fun to do it. And that I agree with. But at the same point, I mean, I want to be able to do something to my character. I want to be able to differentiate in some fashion, and all you have is 6 skills to choose from.
Well, now
I think the runes are their biggest driving point right now. And
right. Well, aside from runes and skills, okay, let's just. I mean, yes, there are billions of different skill rune possibilities that you can use for builds. It's ridiculous, and how Bagshock explained on the forums made sense. It's math. I wouldn't say simple math, but I mean it's math. It's combinations and whatnot. But aside from the whole skill system, you can still customize your character by gear. And yeah, okay, everybody's gonna use the same gear. And then at that point, there's enhancements and gems, and you can craft stuff from the artisans and dyes. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that you can still use.
Real quick, one side note, Dylan, please tell me in this little notebook that you had little bad drawings of like barbarians cutting off Diablo's head like in between pages, because I'm trying to picture this and that's what I picture you like, yes, my barbarian's gonna slice off his head.
I don't think Dylan, you weren't even a big fan of Barbarian, were you?
The stream's kind of staticking for me right now, so I'm not exactly sure what you just said, Tyler.
Oh, that's alright, it was just a joke anyways.
It was just a joke, because that's what I do.
Something about like Diablo and cutting off a hand and
I'm just picturing you in this little notebook of theory crafting and you have these little like sketches of your characters killing Diablo.
I would love that, except that I am absolutely incapable of drawing anything coherent. I'm so bad. It's terrible.
Dylan, if
all right, but
go ahead.
I was just gonna get us back on topic because I mean, for the skill points at first I was kind of worried about this because my main thing was actually replayability. Like, part of my thing is playing the PvE story, you know, and playing through with different characters and different builds, and that really changed, you know, how I played the game and everything like that. But the more I thought about it and listened to Jay, I think one of the biggest things people are kind of assuming, which I think is incorrect, is that people are going to constantly be switching out their skills. Like, in between every battle, oh, here's a bunch of of big groups, I'm going to switch to 4 AoE spells, and then
they may put limitations. I don't think they've gone into detail about it, and I think that would be smart. I think they should put a limitation so you can't change in between fights. I mean, that would be absurd. If they put you can switch a skill like once an hour. I'm just throwing something out there, but or maybe this would be awesome. You can switch a skill, but it costs gold. I mean, I guess that's kind of like a respec system, but still, I feel like having some sort of limitation so that people just can't be all willy-nilly with their, with their skill decisions. Yeah. I think that would be beneficial.
But still, if there's some kind of punishment, I'm going to be hesitant as to what kind of skill I'm going to pick. And if I can't see what skill it is that I'm picking, why would I not just save it all until I can look up a build online and do the same thing?
But, I mean, the thing is, like I want to build a pet summoning witch doctor. So even though I have every skill at my disposal whenever I want, I'm still going to focus on that. Like, yeah, I might swap out one or two and test it to see if maybe, this paired with my summons makes me stronger. But that's the whole point, is that while you're playing, you can test these things out without any penalty. But you're still going to focus on a build. Each player is going to choose, okay, this is how I want to build my character, this is what I'm going to focus on. You're not going to just be a witch doctor, and like in each event, you're going to switch out your character to how you play.
Oh, I'm never going to do that. I mean, when I make my wizard, I'm going to decide, hey, I'm going to make a battle mage right now, and I'm going to get all melee skills, or, maybe at the beginning of the game, I'm just going to get what's the strongest or what looks cool and allows me to do it. But, I mean, I completely agree with you, Tyler, because, I don't know, I'm still going to try and do stuff that's fun. I mean, I'm going to make, like, a summoning barbarian or something. I mean, I still think that'd be sweet. And actually, before anybody responds, just to cut in, some people are telling me that the call is about to start, or it started right now.
Yeah,
so
well,
we can stream that.
We I thought we explained this. People are crying when they don't know what's going on.
It's the boring stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what? Fine, I'll switch to it for a minute. I'll see how much you guys like it.
No, I mean the slideshow. I'm talking about streaming the slideshow as the video.
Yeah, the people look at this. The statements contained in this presentation are not historical facts. And like nobody wants to. Okay, whatever, guys. If you wanna watch this, if you want to watch this for the rest of the time, by all means, I won't play any footage. You guys can watch Safe Harbor Disclosure.
Yeah, why would you want to watch awesome gameplay footage when you can read legal disclaimers?
Too funny, too funny. So, yeah, that's great. But what I wanted to say, though, is that, we kind of mentioned both things when we talked about customization in the game. And the first was obviously the skill point distribution, but the other major thing was the attribute point distribution. And pretty much, I mean, I more or less agree with a lot of what you guys said, but when it comes to attribute points, I see no reason for us to have to. I mean, it'd be nice to have the option. I'm not saying, hey, I want this to be super easy mode. It'd be cool to have the option, but I don't think cutting out attribute point spending was a huge deficit. I don't think it's a huge issue, because everyone just dumped points into Vitality. I mean, that's what happened in Diablo 2. I feel like that would be more or less what happened in Diablo 3 as well. There was very little variation from build to build. I think, again, the biggest thing, and I believe kind of what Dylan is saying, is that, I at least want that choice. If I want a stupid build, if I want to make a bad build, then I would appreciate, having that choice at the very least. So,
well, tying these two categories together, I guess, with the attribute points, it's really, I mean, Diablo is an action-paced, damage-dealing game. It's not like, other games, other RPGs where I'm a healer, I'm a tank, I'm, something else. You're pretty much going for either survivability or damage. Those are your two options, really. And, even if they have 4 or 5 attributes, you're going to pump all your points into either one of those two things. And, I mean, tying that back to the skill system that's all attributes, how they've redesigned them, are all damage. It's like, do you want more straight damage? Do you want more crits? Do you want, stuff like that? But the skill system, rather than staying from all damage skills, what I've liked is they've redone it to now where there's a bunch of utility skills, and there's, some AoE, some straight damage, some, mid-range, there's some, evasive, there's defensive, and every class has every range of skills now, and I think that's another thing that people aren't, thinking about when they're like, well, I'm just going to, obviously choose all top-tier skills and just powerhouse my way through it. Mm-hmm. It's really they've really, added complexity to the combat system, and it's not just going to be, tapping the same button over and over again. You're going to have to run away for a second, go back in, fight. And I think the complexity of the combat system is something that people without any hands-on experience can't deal with, and without knowing that, they don't understand how the skill system is working with that.
Yeah, very, very interesting points. Obviously done your homework, Tyler. Good job. It's
been a couple weeks. I gotta get all of this out now.
That's really, really funny. Yeah, pretty cool indeed. And when we're talking about the different builds too, I think we can't really understate the importance of runes and the runestone system and how it's going to work. In an example during last week, and I think maybe we can pull back and talk a little bit about last week, Kevin, and obviously do our best to try to incorporate Dylan and Tyler as well into any of our discussion. But we couldn't piggyback you guys in, unfortunately.
I told you I fit into a suitcase just fine.
Dylan was going to kill me and go in my stead, but that didn't happen. Not sure if Dylan's still there. Dylan, you there? Oh, I don't hear him. Okay.
Sorry, I muted myself. My dog was making noise. I was like, why aren't they listening to me, those bastards? Yeah, well, We still have BlizzCon coming up, so I might still have to murder you for that.
Yeah, or you could just go. You could buy a ticket. But anyways,
They don't have tickets anymore. We sold out
There's
the first
virtual
tickets.
yeah, there's virtual tickets. You can go in spirit.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh man, that's really funny. I think I lost my train of thought right now. What else were we supposed to talk about? Okay, well, let's talk about kind of what happened during the event. It was really cool. We got brought in. It was, Kevin, myself, and then basically everyone else that was there for the media event, some of the larger sites, you know what I mean? And they showed us a really cool introduction video. It didn't look complete, though. It more looked like it was partial concept art. I don't know what your feeling on that, Kevin, was, but it was basically part of the introduction for Diablo 3, and it was just this epic battle between heaven and hell. And honestly, so far, it's probably one of my favorite cinematics that I've ever seen. It's really, really cool. So looking forward to the community being able to see that. But then there was just some discussion and explanation, and we got a whole bunch of playtime. Now, let's cut to that, because I think that's the most important thing. Kevin, you played a little bit by yourself, and I played by myself, and then we did some cooperative play as well. And in the testing we did, there wasn't any PvP or anything. It was basically the beta. The beta is looking to be part of Act 1. I believe they described it as 1/3 of Act 1. And we got to play through that. So how did you enjoy that? And actually, Tyler and Dylan want to chime in right now. Or no, maybe it's just Dylan.
Hang on. Let me cut in. Magistrate had just messaged me and said that they mentioned the in-game auction house, and they hinted at Q3 beta still, and we'll hear more about it later in the call, and we will switch to it once they get more specific in Diablo.
Wonderful.
So now, right. So can I talk about the beta, or are you guys gonna jump in front of me?
Oh, I was going to talk about my experience there, but I guess it's kind of short. No, go ahead.
Yeah, so the cinematic was amazing. I thought that was crazy awesome. And it's really hard to explain. Basically how I put it was it was like those Marvel comic movies. How it starts off as like a comic reel. And Captain America, for instance, was the last one that just came out. So, it starts off as a comic reel and then kind of comes into real life. It's pretty sweet. They did something like that with the eagles that they used from Diablo 1. And they also did it with Diablo's face, which looks sick. And then they kind of flashed to angel versus demon kind of a thing, where angels were just pouring out of the sky and the demons were kind of just running around. So, and then it kind of just went black. But yeah, that was awesome. And about beta, I honestly thought that the gameplay was a lot of fun. I was a little disappointed because it's only about an hour or so long, but I don't know. I really thought that it felt like Diablo. It was fun to play. I didn't really have any problems with it, other than what I told Jay Wilson that I had a problem with, the whole new runestone system thingy, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah, you weren't too thrilled about that.
Yeah.
But that's an important note for any of us who are looking forward or interested in the beta. The beta is relatively short. It's only going to be about 1/3 of Act 1, and it's only going to be up until we kill the Skeleton King, King Leoric. And that's that. Now, I understand you can probably keep replaying it, and they're going to, let us acquire gear and do all sorts of stuff like that. And I'm actually not sure if there's going to be a level cap or anything, although obviously you could only get so far,
right?
Given the fact that, you get to a certain point and the XP gain will be just so very small. But
I'm going to grind to cap with level 1 monsters,
just South Park
so I can. Yes, those level 1 boars are going to be my way there.
But I was kind of disappointed when I heard that, though, because I was hoping for a little more substance from the beta. Now, I'm not certain if they're going to be incorporating PvP at any point, although I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. And it was even during our interview, Kevin, when I believe it was someone from Curse asked, he said, "Oh, I'm sure, the beta will be more than just Act 1," and Jay Wilson was like, "Actually, no, it probably won't.
Yeah,
it'll probably just be part of Act 1, and that's pretty much it." I think one of the biggest things that they're testing here is the I believe what they stated was just the stress on the servers. And actually, there was an FAQ, and I'm going to cut to that in the stream right now. Right. Goals for the beta test. You just mentioned, server client infrastructure are one of the big things. They're also looking for quality feedback and trying to make sure that the game is, fun and stable once the release does actually come through. So we're not testing in-game content here. They're not looking for us to tell them how we thought the last boss was or anything like that. That's not going to be the case. I mean, I guess hearing that, being kind of not actually being there, but hearing that, Dylan, how do you feel about what's looking to be the length of the beta?
I just want to go back to two things that I wanted to say before. One, that I bleeping hate you and Kevin for getting to play the beta.
I'm sure many people share in your sentiments.
I'll second that.
Exactly. I was just like, I hate you so much. I'm like, Dennis is playing, Diablo right now, and I'm working. The second one was just how hilarious I thought I had the vision of us just like the South Park episode getting fatter and fatter, killing like little
more hot pockets
in Act 1. See Dennis with those like heavy, chunky cheeks.
Live to win, my friend. Live to win.
Anyway, what was your question again?
How do you feel about the projected beta content? Relatively short, not a lot, not likely any end game content. In fact, I don't even think we're supposed to be seeing runes. I'm not sure if we're going to be able. Yeah, so it's about an hour to an hour and a half worth of playtime content, and then just repeatable.
It's a mixed feeling, to be honest. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Part of me just wants okay, give me the whole game to play now.
Yeah.
But that being said, there also is a certain well, wait a minute. I don't want to feel like I played the beta and then when the game came out, it's the exact same thing. I don't get anything more. There's no mystery anymore. So I do understand it. Like I said, we'll go through all the characters. I'm sure we're gonna play a lot. I wish maybe that they had given us an entire act. But I think it does what it does. It will test the servers and it will start to give you feedback. I just hope that they release some sort of PvP and they help with runes and things just so that we can provide feedback before the game releases so that we can fix any issues. Or if certain aspects of the game aren't up to scratch, then they can take our feedback and hopefully make changes to make a better game.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Tyler? How do you feel about what's looking to be the content in the beta?
Well, yeah, of course, we all want as much content as possible. Why wouldn't we get our hands, on as much of this game as soon as possible? But I guess my silver lining for the whole situation is that the shorter the beta is, hopefully that means the shorter the beta testing time and the sooner we actually get release.
Right.
I mean, if it was the full game and we're testing content, in every little small corner of the game and everything like that, it's just going to be that much longer of a test period. But if they have all of that pretty much worked out and all we're just doing is the final check to make sure their servers can handle it and the infrastructure and everything's working, then hopefully that means the beta's not going to run too long, and then we can all get our hands on the entire game.
Sure. And I'm going to pull up, I think they're about to mention just something really quick about Diablo. It looks like they're talking about, continued investment in digital growth for the future, and they specifically mentioned Diablo 3 and the Real Money Auction House. Let me try to just turn this up for just a moment, if you guys can hold the chitter-chatter.
Battle.net and Diablo 3 with its new Real Money Auction House model, just to name a few. So in summary, for the first half of the year, we executed against each of our stated goals, and our focus drove top-line growth of more than 4%.
Okay, so that's about the end of that excitement. I actually cut in just in the nick of time when he said Diablo 3 and the Real Money Auction House, and it's
perfect.
It's being mentioned. That was complete luck. I mean, there's no way I could have planned for that, but it's just being mentioned that this is part of their plan for growth. So I mean, this I guess this confirms a lot of people is Blizzard using this to make more money? I mean, if you had any suspicion, I think it was pretty obvious, but now this is obvious. Remember, we're looking at an investor conference call. This is geared towards the investors in Activision Blizzard and to tell them, hey, this is what we're expecting financially. These are the things we're doing from this point forward in the future so that you guys can get a return on your investment. That's all this is. And you may be wondering, well, why would they mention the beta in this? Because the beta release date has major implications as to kind of the hype behind the game, and especially if they're still aiming, and I'm pretty sure they'll mention if they're still aiming for the release this year, and that has big implications for investors as well. So that's the whole reason behind this whole hoopla and having this live event and all of that. So yeah, I'll go back to hoopla indeed. So pretty interesting stuff. Now, I guess we can go back again to our experience from last game. I'm rolling some of the B-roll, our experience playtesting. What did you try out, Kevin? What was I guess I would say, first off, what was your favorite part of playing the beta?
Well, I mean, I wanted to make it a point just to try out all the classes, just so I could say that I played all the classes.
I didn't make a point of that. I just played the barbarian. I was like, screw these guys. I'm a barbarian.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely started off with my wizard, and then I went right to the demon hunter, and I thought both of them were awesome. And I mean, I had played them both at the BlizzCons, and I knew I would like them. From there, I tried out the monk. If you remember, me and you started out new characters, and I actually really liked the monk. I was very surprised, and I mean, I really didn't think I would like him, which was why I was surprised. I tried out the witch doctor. Sorry, I mean, I wasn't really a big fan of the witch doctor, at least not at first. I felt like he was really slow. But then again, maybe it's just not for me. Same with the barbarian. I mean, I knew I wouldn't like the barbarian. I mean, I'm not really into that go up and just hulking, beat the crap out of everything while they can barely touch me kind of a guy. I would much rather sit back and cast stuff or maybe drop traps and stuff, kind of like Demon Hunter Wizard. That's more for me, which is why I was a bit surprised about the monk, but it was fun. I mean, otherwise, I kind of like how the game starts. Basically, you just get thrown in, and the very first encounter, the town or New Tristram is under siege, and you have to go help the guards while they're taking on a bunch of enemies.
Yeah. It's just there's like a zombie invasion, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. You go through that. There's again, as Kevin said, you're thrown into the game at the start of the beta. There's a big zombie invasion. You get this little quest, go kill this guy, and then you're asked to go meet up with Leah. Talking about that big fiery inferno. I'm sure many of you, if you've been following Diablo with any sort of consistency, you would have seen the cinematic where there's that giant fireball that falls from the sky, and the whole starting of the game and the start of the beta is just kind of the mystery behind that. And that happens, and then the town gets invaded with these zombies and all these demons. And then, I mean, that's basically it. You end up you acquire some of the really cool things, and actually we can talk about this. And this is something really good because we can throw Tyler and Dylan into this as well. Very early on in the gameplay, in fact, I'm showing some footage right now. I believe it's shortly after this quest. You're supposed to go kill someone's mom, who's some witch or something. Do you remember? Actually, there was a big part of the storyline behind that. Wasn't that someone's wife? Was that King? No, it wasn't King Leoric's wife. Do you remember? You don't remember, do you?
I'm trying to remember that. What, the Countess? Is that what you're talking about? The one that...
Oh, no, I'm asking Kevin. Kevin's not paying attention, though. I think he's doing something.
For the beta that you guys played?
Maybe he muted himself. I don't know.
For the beta that you guys played, is you're taking Leah to go find Adria, who was in Diablo 1, because that's her mom.
That's right. It was Adria. So basically what happens is shortly after... I don't know if we lost Kevin, by the way, or if he just muted himself, but...
Oh shit! I'm sitting here. God damn it!
I was wondering. I'm like, what are you doing?
At least I'm not the only dumb idiot. That's it.
No, and I guess I wasn't muted, and then I muted myself when I hit the button because I thought I was already muted.
Yeah.
So that was dumb. So anyway, I'm sitting here like, how can I talk? I know the answer. Why do you guys keep going and not letting me talk?
And we are live. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So anyway,
in case you were
wondering,
so
like Dennis was saying, it was Adria, but she's already dead. That was why Cain adopted her. We know she's dead.
Yeah.
So they're going back through Adria's hut.
Yeah, so shortly after that point, we get a couple of quests, but we get these really awesome items. I mentioned them in the Purgatory video, in which we talk about kind of new additions, or basically gameplay observations when I played the beta. And there's, what is it? The Cauldron of Jordan. And that is just unreal. The Cauldron of Jordan allows you to sell items anywhere. That is a really cool thing. I know a while back they mentioned what was known as the Scroll of Wealth, and it would have been a scroll that you right-click, you click on an item, and you sell the item. But now you have a cauldron, and you always have it. So this is pretty cool. This is part of Blizzard's immersion plan, keeping you in the gameplay, not having to go back to town every 5 minutes. In fact, when Kevin and I discussed it, we were like, well, besides artisans and maybe turning in quests, there's not much of a reason to go back to town. You guys can just, you guys can just stay in the action and fight and duke it out and all sorts of things. But besides that, we also now have the, what was it called? The Stone of Recall. Yeah, the Stone of Recall. I guess we'll call it like a permanent. It's like a permanent tomb.
Hearthstone.
Yeah. We don't want to mention WoW because people get angry.
Right.
Oh, people are gonna get mad.
I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's like a permanent. It's a permanent scroll of town portal or Hearthstone if you want to liken it to WoW. So these are two new items implemented in the game that your character gets very early on. We'll start with you, Tyler. What do you think about the addition of both these things and kind of how they're going to play with the gameplay?
The recall stone is pretty cool, I guess. I mean, with how many waypoints and everything is in the game, I don't really see, and like you said, the diminishing need to go to town, but I guess it's useful. I wouldn't know without playing it, but the thing that I'm worried about, not worried, I guess, but questionable about is the cauldron, because if you can cash anything in for gold without really any sort of, having to carry it all on your character, go to town, sell it all, and go through all that hassle, I'm going to want to pick up every single item that drops. and just cash it out. There's no reason not to. And to me, that's great that I have that ability to, but at the same time, it's like, well, now I'm going to feel obligated to do that. I'm going to feel like I'm missing out on gold if I don't pick up every single item just to cash it out. Is my only question about that. And I mean, I guess if trash items are not worth anything, really, if it's worth 1 or 2 gold, then yeah, I'm not going to waste my time.
They can make bad items worth negative gold, so it actually,
negative gold. You cash this in and you owe us.
It's detrimental to you. And how about you, Dylan? How do you feel about the addition of both the Cauldron of Jordan and the Stone of Recall?
See, I think I'm a total opposite, where I absolutely love the Cauldron of Jordan because no more trash runs, and I actually am not a huge fan of the Recall Stone. Just because when they said no scrolls, town portals, I was like first a little uneasy, and I was like, well, wait a minute. I really like the idea of not being able to escape. That you have to really immerse yourself in the content, and you have to literally fight your way to the next waypoint if you want to go back to town. But all in all, I do think that they're trying to make it less like go pick up a halberd and run back to town, sell it, and jump back. And that's always a good thing, but.
Something important to note too about the Stone of Recall is, it's not instant. It's got a 10-second channel time. So it's not exactly like a town portal that you can be in combat, you just throw this down and just scoot out of there. It's got a 10-second channel time, and if you get hit, then it knocks you out of the channel.
Yeah.
So it basically, without actually physically saying it, you can't use it in combat. If you're in combat, you're going to get hit. And obviously within 10 seconds. In a game like Diablo, you get hit within a millisecond. So within 10 seconds, you'll get hit. So you have to be out of combat, basically, now to use this infinite town portal.
And sort of around the same idea, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I read this during the interviews or whatever, is when other players join your game, basically your banner will be in town, and people can click on your banner and automatically port to you.
That was really awesome. I really like that feature.
Which I guess we should talk about a bit, and I noticed this, and I said this during the interview, was that you could essentially use it to rush characters. So now I can make a brand new character, join your game when you're at the end of the game, and click your banner, and now I'm right there with you on the last quest, because what it does is it catches you up to the party leader, so that way you guys can still play cooperatively. And basically what Jay Wilson said was, well, great. I mean, they're restricting experience gained on higher levels, so you can't use it to hit 20 levels real quick. And so all you do is you miss out on the storyline yourself. And if that's really what you want to do, if you really want to play with your friends that bad to the point where you're going to miss the whole story, then go ahead. Is basically what he said.
Well, that's kind of important to talk about too, right? Is that experience will be gained percentage-wise based upon your level, correct? Like, so, in Diablo 2, you could go to, Hell Sanctuary and people could level you up, 60 levels in a couple minutes. Whereas here, even if you get to that location on the higher settings and stuff, you'll still basically, I believe, get the same experience that you would get if you killed a level 1 monster by yourself. So
yeah, exactly. What they're doing is they're just restricting it. So they're saying, okay, you might kill this monster, it might be worth 5,000 experience points, but because of your level difference, you're only going to get 20 experience still.
Yep. Sorry, for people who don't really know much about the banner system, it's really cool the way they implement this. It's going to be very customizable. And basically, it'll pretty much coincide with the achievement system. As you accomplish things in game, you reach certain levels, you defeat certain bosses, you defeat certain difficulty modes, normal, normal, hell, nightmare, and there was mention about a possible 4th difficulty. I don't remember hearing anything about it. Yeah, where was this pulled from?
It was in the Blizzard.
It was that same beta page that you pulled up.
Oh, yeah, right. Blizzard. I guess they did an interview with Kevin Martins, and he mentioned it. Whether or not it was accident or on purpose.
Yeah, so I mean, that would be amazing if they added a 4th difficulty. I'm really hoping that this wasn't just, wow, that's a loud bark. It's okay. That's what happens in live cast. But the banner system's really cool because you'll unlock things, and if you play hardcore, there's a certain thing. So when someone views your character in Battle.net, it'll be your character standing there, and then right next to it will be your banner. And just through experience, they'll be able to tell, oh, this guy he PvPs a lot. He's got this really cool crest, and he's a hardcore player because he's got this.
You would go to PvP
and all sorts of things.
At the top of the banner.
Yeah.
Your level of,
obviously, it's at the top of the banner.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but on one of the press release pictures, was there not a picture of a unicorn on one of the banners?
I don't believe
so.
What?
I missed that.
I could have sworn it was like a purple banner with a unicorn on it. It might have just been a regular horse.
Probably, yeah.
Maybe, but maybe I'm
That
reading
doesn't
too
surprise
much
me
into
any.
it. I'm too excited. That there
Basically,
might be...
you can customize your banner however you want. They have like in-game. I'm assuming you unlock them from achievements, so you can basically do whatever you want to your banner.
Yeah, and so I mean the whole reason we mention this is it's really neat because it'll be a very easy way of identifying what someone's accomplished in the game. But not only that, when you play a game with them, as we mentioned, their banner will sit in town, and it will be that banner that you saw, that customized banner that you see when you look at them in Battle.net. And you just like as we said, it's basically what you use to move to someone when you join the game. Dylan?
I just wanted to apologize for everybody whose ears are still bleeding.
No, it wasn't that loud. It wasn't that loud on the
I had
sound.
a fire truck go right by my house. My puppy.
I didn't even hear anything.
What is that?
I didn't even notice.
It's really, really funny. So definitely really, really neat. And I am actually going to go to PvP now, Tyler, that you mentioned it. So, and what I want to say though, we're not just going to talk about PvP the whole time, but there's a reason behind this. There was a change to the PvP system. The change was this: it's no longer going to be kind of an arena deathmatch. It's more like it's not a last man standing. It's more of a team deathmatch now. And what does that mean? Well, it was showcased last year in BlizzCon. The arena looked like this: 3 people on Team A, 3 people on Team B. You run in and you fight. When you die, you're out. You're out for that round, and then the last person alive, their team wins. But it's changed now to a team deathmatch, and what that means is that there are respawns in every round, and the respawn is likely to be based on one of 2 things. Either there's a timer, so the round lasts 5 minutes, and you respawn until the end of that, and then whoever had the most kills on each team, they win that round. Or there might be like a first to X amount of kills, whenever there's one person on your team still alive, you'll keep respawning, but once no one's on like on a 30-second interval or something, but once no one's alive anymore, then that's it. No more respawns and your team loses. So these are kind of the different types of team deathmatch modes that you see, and this is I'm likely to expect one, if not all of those variations of a team deathmatch. But yeah, it's not a last man standing. This is a big change. Jay Wilson mentioned that it's basically changing from the matches used to last between 1 to 2 minutes, and now a single round is lasting about 10 minutes. So, I mean, how do we feel about that? Someone dropped a dot. Who was it?
Me.
Oh.
Okay, so how do you feel about that,
Sorry,
Tyler?
actually, I'm actually really excited about this as someone who sucks at PvP, because the idea of going into any PvP match and dying within the first 5 seconds was not that exciting for me. But as long as I know I can die 100 times within that 10-minute time frame, it's going to be that much more fun for me.
Yeah, but you're still going to lose. You die
So I
100
can be on your
times.
team, right?
The way Jay explained it was that this makes for more of a rubber banding effect, where there's going to be kind of a struggle for power in each particular round. Because I mean, yeah, sure, if there's one team that completely outmatches the other team, it'll be kind of one-sided. But still, the fact that you can respawn, like, it gives you time to figure out more or less what's going on. And I think the one thing that I definitely like about it, I really like a last man standing type of game, and I really liked what they had initially. But the one thing that I like about this is, being someone who loves to PvP, having longer rounds is awesome, and not having to wait in queue for the next team or anything like that. So let's go to you, Dylan. I know PvP is a big, you're a big fan of it. How do you feel about the way the PvP is currently structured?
Everybody's going to be absolutely astonished, because for the first time tonight, I'm absolutely thrilled by the idea.
I hate it.
He's been the negative Nancy all podcast, so it's good.
Exactly. I'm like, well, wait a minute, I actually like this. I do wish that it was a choice.
Yeah. Well, that's what everyone wants, choices. So, yeah. But I think that's a big complaint about any changes. It's like, hey, I want more choices. But
I do think it makes the PvP less competitive, which I don't like. But I think that there's definitely a real place for it. And I think that it'll let PvP be fun to people that aren't really into it initially. Where people are like, okay, well, I don't really want to. Well, exactly. I mean, it becomes more of like a fun, carefree experience where okay, well, wait a minute, I died, but I'll respawn. It's okay, and then you get more fun out of the idea. Where if you're playing, a traditional, more competitive match, you just get rolled over, you just die. And it's like that really was not fun at all.
Sure.
So
and it actually looks like they're doing a product lineup right now in the conference call, but this is specifically for the Activision game. So if they go to Blizzard, we'll pop into that really quick. But what you mentioned, Dylan, is it makes it feel more casual, and I know that you said you don't like that, and I'm not a huge fan of that either. Oh, here we go. We've got some Blizzard Entertainment news. So we'll cut back to PvP after we take a listen to this.
We've added Cataclysm and StarCraft 2 to our product mix and have brought value-added services live in China. In addition, we have increased our investments in service and product development in order to better serve our community and strengthen our business for the long term. Moving on to StarCraft 2, back in May, we invited press from around the globe to get a first look at the upcoming expansion pack, Heart of the Swarm. We showcased a couple of levels from the game's campaign, and we have seen a lot of positive feedback and coverage about this sneak peek. We look forward to sharing more information and news about Heart of the Swarm at the upcoming Gamescom later this month, as well as at BlizzCon in October. We also just released the Starter Edition of StarCraft 2 this week. The Starter Edition lets players play through a portion of the single-player campaign, and they can also play unlimited multiplayer battles as the Terran race on a few different maps for free. Our hope is that the Starter Edition will encourage more gamers to try out StarCraft 2, and they'll eventually upgrade to the full edition. On the World of Warcraft side, we experienced a slight decrease in subscribership during Q2, closing the quarter at 11.1 million subscribers worldwide. Since that time, we launched Cataclysm in China and have seen an increase in concurrency within the region. We're very excited to have delivered the latest expansion to Chinese players, and we look forward to working with our local partner NetEase to continue improving the rate at which we are able to release new content to our players there. In addition to the China launch, we also just announced that we will be releasing a Portuguese version of World of Warcraft in Brazil later this year. Aside from promoting World of Warcraft in other regions, we're taking other steps to bring more players into the community. With the new World of Warcraft Starter Edition, players are now able to play the game for free until level 20.
Oh, they're talking about WoW. People are going to get really angry.
With this program, we've seen a significant increase in new account creations, which we hope will allow us to continue attracting new players. The World of Warcraft development team is also working on the next content update, which will include major new raid and dungeon content. We believe that this new endgame content will keep the game fresh for current players and provide compelling reasons for lapsed players to come back. Before moving on to Diablo III, I want to thank our World of Warcraft community for their warm response to our recent charity pet, the Cenarian Hatchling. We pledged that Blizzard would donate 100% of the proceeds from sales of this pet through July 31st to help Japan relief efforts. Through this initiative and the generosity of our players, Blizzard will donate more than $1.9 million to support ongoing earthquake and tsunami relief in Japan. Many of you are already aware of the big news that we recently shared about Diablo III.
I'll appreciate that.
Alongside the gold-based auction house, we will include an auction house within Diablo III that will allow players to trade items using real money. This auction house will be a secure and safe environment for players to trade their items over Battle.net. In the previous game, Diablo II, we did not offer such a feature, which resulted in many players turning to unscrupulous third-party services to purchase items. We felt that because players clearly wanted such a feature, it made sense for us to build it in to Diablo III so they could trade in a more convenient and secure manner than going through an unauthorized third party. Players who participate in this optional system will be able to list items on the auction house for a flat fee, with another charge for completed transactions. When listing an item for sale, players will have the ability to direct the proceeds either to their e-balance, which will remain on Battle.net, or to cash out through a third-party service. We have not disclosed specific fees, but we plan on keeping them nominal so that more players can participate in it if they so choose, and so that players will opt to use our secure, approved method of item trading and not turn to third parties. We will also allow a limited number of free listings each week so players can build up a balance without needing to deposit any funds to get started. As for the upcoming beta, Diablo III is still on track to go into external beta testing later this quarter. and we are still working hard to ship the game before the end of the year. However, we're not ready to commit to a release date at this time. What I can tell you is that the press who visited us last week played a near-final version of the beta content, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. We are very much looking forward to getting the beta into the hands of our players and collecting their feedback for the final phase of development. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to talk about BlizzCon, where we will hold exciting StarCraft II and World of Warcraft tournaments and share news about all of our franchises. Once again, this year we sold out the show in a matter of seconds. I'm also very pleased to note that this year's BlizzCon will host a finals event for the Global StarCraft League, which is growing in viewership around the world. The GSL recently announced that they have served more than 50 million videos on demand and live streams this year alone. Another prominent esports league, Major League Gaming, held a tournament in Anaheim this past weekend and served more than 30 million online streams of their esports matches over 3 days. The interest in all of these leagues illustrates that esports is becoming a truly global phenomenon, and it's great to see StarCraft II at the center of all the activity. The rest of 2011 and beyond is looking very exciting for Blizzard. We are making great progress on Diablo III, and the StarCraft II team is hard at work on Heart of the Swarm. As always, we are continuing to make adjustments to our infrastructure to better support our massive community of players and keep pace on all the products in our pipeline. Thank you, and I'd like to turn the call back over to Kristen.
Thank you, operator. I think we'll open up for questions.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please do.
All right, so there you go.
I am disappointed.
Do we want to cut back for the question portion? I guess the one problem if we go to that is that I'm sure a lot of it won't be Diablo 3, but I don't know what you guys think.
Well, last time we did it, and we ended up wasting our time. So if we don't do it this time, maybe we won't waste our... I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I think one big thing to note that we did get there is that they said they're still looking for a release this year, and they also said that they're still planning the beta for this quarter. Now, this quarter ends at the end of September, so that means the beta is planned within the next, what is that, like 7 weeks between now and the end of September? Or I guess like 7.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So... you guys are super depressed.
I honestly thought they were going to tell us
God.
beta's starting, like, next week.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm pretty sure that's what everyone hoped for, but...
Well, I mean, I'm a little confused then. Why did they put on Blizzard.com Diablo 3 beta announcement if there was no Diablo 3 beta announcement?
Well, I mean, it could certainly be something that they're planning to go ahead and announce within the next couple of weeks. I mean...
Well, yeah, the next couple of weeks. This quarter 3.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we still have what, 7.5 weeks left in the third quarter, and you know, if they're going to stay in this conference call that they're still planning it for, it's not going to be pushed back any later than that. They wouldn't have said, like, by now we're halfway through the quarter. If it was going to be any later, then they would have said now it looks like the beta will be quarter 4 of this year. So you know, we can still look forward to an announcement within the next couple of weeks, likely, and then as such, the beta, like again, starting before the end of September. Dylan, I know you just said that you don't think that it's coming out this year, but they just said they're still aiming for this year.
Aiming.
Well, how good is Blizzard aiming?
All the time. Doesn't mean I actually make it.
That's pretty disappointing. Tyler, how do you feel about this news?
For the release date, I still stay strong with the 2011. I feel they constantly keep pushing this, so I'm not skeptical. I'm moving on to 2012. As for the beta, maybe this is just not the way they wanted to announce it. I'm still hoping it comes sooner in this quarter than, last week of September, but maybe they just had a different way that they plan on announcing it.
Sure, and I mean, like Kevin just said, I'm going to cut to it right now. They just put up this page, Diablo 3 beta announcement. It was like the end of last week or something. It was just sometime after the media event.
They put it up for the press event.
Yeah, so, this is not something that they would go about doing. This isn't like a hidden thing that we all discovered. This is out there in the open. This is not something that they go about doing.
Right on Blizzard.com, the front page, first news post. Diablo 3 beta announcement.
Unless it was very close. I mean, so I'm pretty confident still in the fact that it's very... I'm just trying to keep things as not like melodramatic as possible because I mean, we have this page. There was the media event. They just said that they're still aiming for this quarter for the beta, and again, there's only so much time in this quarter. So if they weren't feeling like it was going to happen within the next few weeks, then I feel like they wouldn't have said it. So
I think maybe Gamescom. I mean, they have Gamescom coming up here within pretty much a week.
Yeah,
or
it's
two
like
here.
It's like a week. It's midway through the month, so it's the
Yeah,
third now.
so,
So
I
about
mean, maybe that's kind of what they're holding off till. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a reason why they want to, find some event that they want to announce it at other than this conference call. So I'm staying hopeful. I'm always an optimist, though. So
So was I. No, actually, I kind of wasn't. I always said that we'll see a beta in 2012. So for that, I'm definitely wrong. But I don't know. I'm hoping that we get it this year. Obviously, I don't care. I'll go out and say that I was wrong. Like that was our bet. We bet what was it, a year and a half ago or so? It was like us managers on Diablo fans that
yes.
I said it would be 2012 release. Tyler said 2011. I think Seth said 2011. And
I'm pretty sure
Frozen
you owe me
Dragon.
a giant. I'm pretty sure you owe me a giant cookie if it comes out in
Cookie.
2011.
I have a cookie and a
Which I will strongly stand
public
by.
announcement.
It's too funny. And something else that he just mentioned there in the last part of that was the fact that that what we played last week was a near complete version of the beta. So they're in the works. It's still coming. We got a few more weeks before we can be super angry. Now, if it comes mid-September and we haven't heard anything, then I'll start fuming. But until that point, I am still optimistic, and I feel like in the next the next few weeks we'll be hearing.
I
Something
start
big,
school on the 18th. They need to hurry up.
That's too bad for you. Oh man,
The day he goes to class.
Yeah, right. That's what's gonna happen.
I graduate the 15th, so it's perfect timing for me.
Oh,
Don't worry,
man.
Kevin. You can watch our live stream from your phone.
Yeah, screw that. When StarCraft 2 beta came out, I was sitting in class. I was sitting there, and I was like, oh my god, the beta! And, it's completely quiet. Dude's giving, a lecture. And I'm just sitting there completely not paying attention, downloading the beta, posting on the forums and stuff. I downloaded the beta just so I could create my character, post on the forums, and couldn't wait till I got home. It was stupid.
on your
That's a college
laptop in
education
school.
for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, he's paying for that, or maybe he isn't. I don't know what you're doing. But
Scholarship.
yeah,
So they're paying for me to play the beta while I'm in class.
yeah. No, I'm definitely still optimistic. There's all these indicators that they're right next to the release of the beta. And just because they're not, releasing it this week doesn't mean that it's not coming within the next few weeks. And like I said, if we reach mid-September and I have to eat my own words, and I'll gladly man up to it. But I'm still looking. I'm still aiming with what Blizzard said, which was the beta starting, sometime within the next 5 years. So
Yeah.
I'll go one above that. I'll still say August for beta,
yeah.
and I will publicly apologize on Diablo fans if I'm wrong.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess that pretty much does it. I think we're still going to plan on doing a additional podcast this week. Kevin, is that?
Yep.
We're still thinking about doing that. So stay tuned, guys, and we'll go into definitely some further detail about basically our experience at the beta event, and we'll go into some further detail. I know that the auction house and a lot of that stuff is really, really big on people's list of WTF, mate. So people want to hear kind of our opinions and everything like that about that. So we'll be more than happy to give that. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. A little disappointing that we didn't get an actual solidified 1, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but fingers are still crossed. Look forward in the next few weeks to be hearing something. Otherwise, we can all riot in the streets. That sounds great. So
Storm the campus.
So for Kevin, for Tyler, and for Dylan, this has been Dennis. Thank you guys for watching this special live edition of DiabloCast, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, all.
All right. Well, that was fun. Super angry that...
Man, I'm disappointed. I feel like a kid on Christmas that just opened up nothing.
It's like
Did you
when you
open
got
nothing,
the...
or did you get a pair of socks?
It's like when you got the
Yeah.
Polly Pocket Playhouse, Kevin, and
Yeah, exactly. You remember that year?
you wanted the
Dude,
Hot
I was
Wheels.
excited about that when I got one of those.
Oh, man.
Dang, man.